Not a War by Silarine. Chapter 4. The next day, Magda was elated. She had spent most of the night talking with Emily. In Emily's opinion, it was clear that Balak liked her. Even though there was still a good chance that Annalise was right, Magda wanted to believe that she was wrong. The situation would be clearer the next time she saw Balak anyway. She couldn't wait to see him again. But this time, she didn't have to wait long. This afternoon at the farm was particularly hot, and Magda was sweating from effort and heat. Using a pitchfork all day was exhausting, especially in summer, when the metal structure of the farm acted like an oven. She stopped to wipe the sweat from her forehead and took a look through the eastern wall, which was open, wishing for some fresh air. That's where she saw him, leaning back against the wall of a barn, arms crossed, looking at her. What was he waiting for? But she wasn't allowed to go outside yet. The workday wasn't over. People of the administratum were less tolerant than her father. Now that she knew he was here, Magda couldn't concentrate anymore. She wanted to throw her pitchfork and run outside, but a part of her was also annoyed by his presence. Work in the farm was already hard enough. She didn't need to be distracted. Now that she was aware of his ridiculously intense blue eyes watching her, she became clumsy and she fell down on the hay. She glanced quickly at Balak, hoping he didn't see that, but he was laughing. Magda thought angrily that she should have defiantly let Emily kick his ass. "Go back to work," said a scribe next to her. He was reporting something on his parchment. Great. "Yes, sir," she complied, picking up her pitchfork. At the end of the day, after the prayer to the God Emperor, she bolted through the east wall, angry. "Hey," she yelled at the young soldier. "What are you doing here? Access to the farm is forbidden to non-authorized personnel." "Nobody told me anything," Balak defended himself, his tone somewhat amused. "Well, I'm telling you. Don't you have anything to do at your camp?" "Your sister warned me you'd be mad," he chuckled, "but I didn't think you'd actually fall." "I'm not mad," Magda lied. "Wait, you talked to Emily?" "Of course. How else could I have known where you were? I ran into her in town. We chatted a bit. Are you jealous?" "No," she yelled, but actually she was. "Come on, girlie, don't be mad. I didn't want to disturb you." She uttered. She couldn't stay angry at him, even if she wanted to. This time he was wearing a camouflage t-shirt with the same blue and gray pattern as his uniform jacket. It must be an urban camouflage, she thought. In this outfit, his arms were bare, and Magda could see that she was right. He was indeed muscular. His arms were visibly strong, but still looked soft. She wondered what it would feel like to be in his arms. She realized that she wanted to find the answer. "It's okay," she finally conceded, making him smile. "So, why are you here?" "Well, it's the first time I've been on an Agri-world. I thought you could explain it to me a bit." "Oh, that's why," she answered, trying not to sound too disappointed. "Also, I wanted to see you," he added on the tone of the conversation. Magda felt blood coming to her cheeks. "Well, we can talk on the way home," she said, feeling uncomfortable. "I need a change before going to the tavern." She suddenly remembered that she was wearing old dungarees and dirty rubber boots. Not very flattering. "Sure," he agreed. "I'm following you." "Well, as you can see, here's the farm and here's the fields," Magda said awkwardly. "There's 5 farms around the town. Mine is specialized in cattle. Emily's is specialized in poultry." "And how long have you been working here?" he asked, helping. "Almost 1 year now." "I was still in school last year." "School?" he repeated. "I bet you're really clever then." Not really." Magda was confused. "You never went to school?" Yes, I went to school until my 10th birthday. Where I come from, further education is for rich people. Really? We learned some accounting, mathematics, biology, astronomy, imperial cult, things like that. And then only the best pupils continue to become a scribe or veterinary surgeon, for example. Awesome, he said with a whistle. I wish I was born here. Will you finally tell me what your world is like? She looked at him, anxious. It's a hive world, he only said. A hive world? I wonder what it looks like. Don't change subject, girlie, he smiled, sending a jolt into Magda's spine. She liked the way he called her girlie. We're here to talk about agri-worlds. There's nothing to explain, really, she complained. Most of the planet is covered with fields and farms. You produce food for the administratum, and then it's distributed to a lot of different worlds. A part goes to the Munitorum, so maybe you eat things that come from my farm. It sounds boring, but I'm pretty impressed. He said honestly. Millions of people can eat thanks to you. Not really. You know, workers here are just as replaceable as anyone anywhere else. So, now will you explain to me a bit about hive worlds? That'd be fair. Well, there's nothing to explain either, he sighed. A lot of people, a lot of pollution. Inside the hive, there's no sun, only artificial lights. No wind, no birds. There's a lot of gangs in the lowest levels where I lived. Since I was 10, I had to work at the factory to make ammunitions for the Munitorum. I couldn't bear this life, so when I was 15, I entered the Planetary Defense Force. And as Michael said the other day, war chooses for us. So 2 years later, I became an Imperial Guard as part of the Tithe. It's been 6 years. Now you know the whole story. I don't know what to say. You've had a hard life. Magda felt like she understood him better now. He looked sad. Sorry for asking, she added. It's okay. You wanted to know. I promised anyway. He turned to her, suddenly more joyous. But you'll still have to go on a date with me. Oh yeah, that's true, she smiled. She was happy that he wasn't angry. She couldn't wait to go on a date with him. You should smile more often. It's pretty, he said with a chuckle, his blue eyes on her face. I might even fall in love. Magda's heart almost stopped. Why was he always saying things like that so casually? Was she the only one taking the situation seriously? Because she was. She was definitely falling in love with him. She knew there was a good chance that she would get hurt in the process, but she couldn't help it. Beside her, Balak was laughing. It's so easy to embarrass you, he laughed. You should see your face. She crossed her arms in an attempt to sulk, but the moment after, she was laughing with him. They were in the town now, so Magda pointed to her house. Here's my home. It's not far from the tavern. That's where you live? Fancy house, Balak whistled. Fancy? Life'd be terrible in a hive. Her house was all but fancy, but at least there was a separated bedroom and bathroom with running water, a luxury most people couldn't even afford. The neighborhood was inhabited mostly by scribes and adepts of low rank. Thanks to the tavern, Magda's family was able to live in this part of town. Poorer citizens lived in slums, and richer people lived in the town center or in other bigger cities. When they were at the front door, Magda turned the key, but then hesitated. Maybe you should wait here. I'm not supposed to let strangers inside. A stranger? Balak sighed. He grabbed Magda's wrist and pulled her against him. What? She asked, surprised. She couldn't finish her sentence. Balak put a hand under her chin to raise her face and kissed her. Magda was confused. It was unexpected. But his lips tasted so good, she thought she was going to faint. She closed her eyes and stood on her tiptoe. He was so tall. She put her arms around his muscled neck and felt his hand on her back, pulling her even closer, embracing her. It was her first kiss, and she wanted it to last forever. But after a while, he broke the kiss and watched her eyes. "I told you, girlie, I'm not playing with you," he whispered. She was speechless. She was drowning in his surreal eyes. "Am I allowed in now?" he asked with a grin. Come in," she said, her voice higher than usual. He let go of her so she could open the door. She went in, trying to come back to reality, while Balak was following her inside. "Don't pay attention to the mess," she said. "My father uses this room as a bedroom, while Emily and I sleep in the other room." She turned toward him, and he was closer to her than she had thought. It definitely didn't help her to return to her senses. You can wait here while I go to the shower." But he grabbed her by the hips, leaned in and kissed her again. It was even better than the first time. She touched his cheeks, caressing his 3-day stubble. It was bristly. He untied her ponytail, letting her hair down. Then he broke the kiss. But just to kiss her on the neck and the shoulder, his lips were so smooth against her skin. Her heart was pounding as she ran her hands on his soft muscles. She felt vulnerable in his strong arms, so frail. She was excited, but also a little afraid. The butterflies in her stomach were going crazy. She felt one of his hands caressing her back, slowly going under her clothes, and she didn't want to stop him. She wanted to give herself to him entirely. "What would you say if I suggested something more interesting than the tavern?" he said in his low voice that made her melt. I'd say yes," she giggled and led him to the bedroom. Hey there, thank you guys for listening to these videos so far. I hope you've enjoyed the story. If you did, consider pressing the like button. It really helps out the channel. Also, you can get these videos up to a week early on Patreon. Also, if you prefer Spotify, I do upload these videos onto Spotify on the same upload schedule as YouTube. I'll be putting links to the Spotify podcast as well as all of my socials and Patreon in the description. I'm really happy to see that some of you have been enjoying this content, so I am very happy to continue making some. Alright, that's all I have for today. I'll see you guys next time. Good night.